everyone, welcome back. You know how sometimes you just get this urge, like you just want to be underwater exploring a coral reef?
I know that feeling. It's like this whole other world is calling you.
Exactly. And when I picture it, I always think, man, wouldn't it be amazing to just dive in and experience that firsthand? But then those myths start to creep in.
Oh, I hear you. It's easy to get caught up in those misconceptions, especially when you're first starting out.
Totally. So, for today's deep dive, we're tackling those scuba diving myths head on. We're focusing on the ones that specifically pop up for us beginners, before we even get our fins wet.
It's amazing how those myths can hold people back from experiencing something truly incredible.
Right, okay. I'll admit, the one that always gets me is the whole, you need to be an Olympic-level swimmer thing. Like, do I need to be training for the next Summer Games just to handle scuba gear?
It's a common misconception, but honestly, scuba diving is less about being a super strong swimmer and much more about mastering buoyancy control.
So more about gliding than powering through the water.
Exactly. Think of it this way. You don't need to be a marathon runner to enjoy a relaxing walk in the park, right?
So true. Okay, that makes me feel better already, but I've got to address the elephant, or should I say shark in the room?
Going full jaws on me, huh?
Well, maybe a little. It's hard to shake those Hollywood fears,
Yeah.
Is scuba diving actually dangerous?
I get it. Those movies definitely play in our fears.
Yes.
Here's the thing, though. Statistically, scuba diving is actually very safe.
Really? Even with those, sharks patrolling the depths?
Especially when you think about the emphasis on responsible diving. We're talking about proper training, following safety protocols, just like learning to drive.
So getting your scuba license, if you will.
Exactly. A healthy dose of caution and understanding how to drive underwater makes all the difference.
Okay, that makes me feel a lot better. So speaking of learning to drive underwater, how about those age and fitness requirements? Is there like an age limit, or do you need to be a triathlete to scuba dive?
Another myth we can toss right out. I've personally dived with people in their 70s and 80s who had incredible stamina. Inspiring, really.
Wow. Okay, that's amazing.
Of course, common sense always applies.
Yeah.
It's always a good idea to chat with your doctor before diving into any new activity.
Absolutely. This might sound a little silly, but one thing that always held me back was picturing myself having to buy all this expensive gear. Is scuba diving just for people with, bottomless bank accounts?
Not at all. While investing in your own gear down the line can be great, most beginners start by renting.
So kind of like renting skis for your first time on the slopes.
Exactly. It lets you get a feel for what you like before taking the plunge with a big purchase. Dive shops usually have well-maintained gear that's perfect for those early adventures.
Okay, gear anxieties. Officially checked off the list. Now let's dive into a big one, and I have a feeling I'm not alone in this. Running out of air.
The fear that haunts every newbie diver's dreams. It's completely understandable.
Right, so how realistic is it for someone just starting out?
That's where myth number 5 gets completely debunked. Modern scuba gear is incredibly advanced.
Like what kind of tech are we talking about?
Well, you've got your trusty pressure gauges and dive computers that let you keep tabs on your air supply constantly. Plus, your certification course drills those safety protocols, really drills them into you.
So you're super aware of your air levels throughout the entire dive.
Exactly. It's incredibly rare to run out of air when you're following those protocols. And on top of that, you'll learn about the rule of thirds for air consumption, which is super helpful for managing your air throughout the dive.
Okay, so it's all about staying aware and communicating with your dive buddy, right?
You got it. Your dive buddy is there to assist and enhance safety throughout the dive. You practice checking your gauges, signaling your levels to your buddy, and making safe ascents during your certification.
This is great. For someone who always thought scuba diving was this big, intimidating thing, I'm actually feeling a lot more confident now. It's like you've opened up this whole new world of possibilities.
That's what I love to hear.
Yeah.
That's the whole point. Empowering people to push past those misconceptions and just dive into this amazing experience.
Speaking of which, there's another one I want to get your take on. What about those of us with health conditions? Is scuba diving totally off limits if you have, say, asthma or something?
It's easy to assume that, but it's not always so black and white.
So it's not an automatic no for everyone with a health condition.
Exactly. Take asthma, for instance. Lots of people think it's a deal breaker, but with the right guidance from a doctor who understands diving, many people with asthma can dive safely.
So the key is to find a medical professional who gets the unique demands of scuba diving.
Absolutely. They can assess your individual situation, recommend any necessary precautions, and help you make informed decisions about diving.
Makes sense. Okay, shifting gears a bit, let's talk locations. I have to admit, my mental image of scuba diving always involves those picture-perfect tropical islands.
The crystal clear water, the coral reefs.
Exactly. But what about those of us who aren't exactly living in a postcard destination?
And you might be surprised to hear this, but incredible diving exists far beyond those turquoise waters and swaying palm trees.
Wait, really? You're going to have to tell me more about this.
Think vibrant kelp forests, mysterious shipwrecks, even freshwater lakes bursting with life. You'd be amazed by the beauty and diversity of underwater ecosystems that are probably closer to home than you think.
You're blowing my mind. Are you saying someone living in, say, the Midwest could have those amazing underwater adventures right in their backyard?
Absolutely. I'd encourage you to explore local options. Connect with some local dive clubs and do some research. You'll likely be surprised by the underwater gems waiting to be discovered. You might not even need to book a flight.
I'm already looking up local dive sites as we speak. This is so exciting. Okay, on to a topic that tends to make people a little nervous: sharks. Will I be swimming for my life if I decide to go scuba diving?
It's the question on everyone's mind, isn't it?
Right. I mean, those Hollywood blockbusters don't exactly paint a reassuring picture.
Well, I have good news. Shark encounters are much less common and much less dramatic than those movies make them seem.
So I can relax about those Jaws flashbacks.
Precisely. Shark attacks on divers are incredibly rare. Most shark species aren't aggressive towards humans at all. Sharks are actually crucial to the marine ecosystem. Encounters, while rare, are often a highlight for divers.
So it's all about respecting their space.
Exactly. Remember, we're visitors in their world.
That's a great point. Respect the locals. Speaking of amazing marine encounters, is it true you have to travel to some far-off destination to experience those incredible underwater scenes?
Not at all. While those exotic destinations definitely have their appeal, you can often find amazing marine life much closer to home than you might expect.
So it's all about appreciating those hidden wonders that are often right under our noses.
Exactly. Local dive sites, whether they're in the ocean, a lake, or even a quarry, can offer some truly captivating underwater landscapes. Those local dive clubs are treasure troves of knowledge.
I love that. It's about exploring with an open mind. All right, last myth on the list, which I think is super relevant for anyone who's new to scuba diving like me. If you get certified, does that automatically make you an expert diver?
That's a really important one to address. It's important to remember that getting certified is really just the beginning of your scuba diving adventure.
Kind of like getting your driver's license. You can hit the road, but you're not ready to win any races just yet.
I love that analogy. Earning that open water certification gives you the basic knowledge and skills to dive safely. It takes time, practice, and continued learning to become a truly experienced diver.
It's an ongoing journey of exploration and skill development then.
Absolutely. Embrace the learning process. It's about constantly seeking those opportunities to level up your skills through advanced courses or even specialty certifications like wreck diving or underwater photography, and never stop exploring this amazing underwater world.
That's a really inspiring way to look at it. You know, thinking back to all the myths we've busted today, the swimming skills, the safety concerns, even those shark encounters, I'm actually feeling really excited about the prospect of experiencing scuba diving firsthand.
It's amazing how empowering it can be to just, unpack those misconceptions.
Yeah.
What resonated most with you from everything we talked about today?
You know, what really struck me is how accessible scuba diving actually is. We debunked myths about the cost, health conditions, even location. It really drives home the point that almost anyone can experience this.
And that sense of wonder, that appreciation for the underwater world, is something we should all carry with us, whether we're seasoned divers or just fascinated by the ocean.
I love that. So for anyone listening who's feeling inspired to take the plunge, what's the most valuable piece of advice you'd give them as they start their scuba diving adventure?
It might sound simple, but honestly, never stop learning. Scuba diving is a continuous journey of discovery both above and below the surface. Embrace those opportunities to connect with local dive clubs, find mentors who can guide you, and always approach the ocean with respect.
I love that. Embrace the learning curve, find your dive buddies, and approach this underwater world with a sense of wonder and respect. This has been an incredible deep dive. I'm feeling so much more informed, totally inspired, and ready to trade in these daydreams for some real-life underwater adventures.
That's what we'd like to hear. And remember, every time you dive, it's a new opportunity to learn, explore, and connect with the beauty of our oceans.
So to everyone listening, what are you waiting for? Find those local dive shops, Take that first step and discover the incredible world of scuba diving. You might just surprise yourself with what you find down there.
Until next time, happy diving.